Welcome back to the Crypto Channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is still holding above this exact area of support in the short term, as the Bitcoin dominance is also now bouncing from this important area of support, which at least for now is bad news for the altcoin market, while Ethereum is continuing to play out a significant warning signal, as we are also running into a very significant area of resistance, which is one of the many reasons as to why I'm currently shorting Ethereum. That is right, I am now short on Ethereum and looking for more short positions on some other altcoins, as Solana and many other altcoins are currently rejecting from significant areas of resistance. So I'll be talking about all of that and so much more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before talking about the Bitcoin and crypto charts today, we need to talk about the upcoming FOMC meeting, also known as a Fed meeting, where in just around a couple of hours from now, 1 to 2 hours from now at the time of posting this video, the Federal Reserve will be deciding on interest rates, which could potentially shock the market in the short term, depending on the outcome. And basically, all you need to know is that currently the market is pricing in for no change in interest rates as the most likely scenario here. And the new number, the actual decision, will be released at exactly 6 p.m. on the dot GMT, 6 p.m. GMT on the 30th of July. So you could use that to work out with your own time zone. And if we're looking at what the futures market is actually pricing in, currently there's around a 97% probability of no change in interest rates and around a 3% chance of an interest rate cut of 0.25%. So reducing interest rates by 25 basis points. And so obviously it is extremely likely that we'll see no change in interest rates today. And if that ends up happening, the most expected outcome essentially is neutral for markets, because everyone is already pricing in for no change in interest rates. But basically all you need to know is usually in the minutes leading up to the release of this number, so in the minutes leading up to 6 p.m. GMT, we may end up seeing a bit of volatility in the short term, and then usually right around the release we see a little bit of volatility. But once again, if we see no change in interest rates, it should be relatively neutral. If we somehow see any change in interest rates to the downside or to the upside, that could cause a major volatile move in the short term. And basically all you need to know is if we end up seeing a reduction in interest rate and interest rate cut, that essentially would be bullish for markets. But if we see somehow an interest rate hike, so increasing interest rates today, that would be bearish for markets. And then usually roughly half an hour after the interest rate decision gets released, once again at 6 p.m. GMT, roughly half an hour after that, we see the Jerome Powell press conference, where essentially the boss of the Federal Reserve answers some questions about future Fed policy, and that can also shake up the market a little bit in the short term. So keep in mind, around this time today, we're likely going to see some volatility over the next few hours here. And as always, I will be sharing this information as soon as it gets released, within a matter of seconds from these numbers being released, over on my Twitter in real time. So of course, if you want to get these extra updates throughout the day, check out my Twitter, link below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. But with that being said, taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today, here on the weekly Bitcoin price chart, at least for now, the super trend indicator is still sitting in the green, indicating a larger bull market. And of course, on this weekly Bitcoin price chart, as I've been saying for a long time, we're still possibly forming a bearish divergence with higher highs in the price and lower highs in RSI. But at least for now, we don't really have a lot of confirmation here to actually confirm this lower high in place in the RSI, at least not yet. And if we're taking a look at this 3-day Bitcoin price chart, at least in the shorter term, and as I've already been saying over the last 1 to 2 weeks, we're still losing bullish momentum in the shorter term. We're simply in a bit of a short-term cool-off right now, but we're not really seeing a significant gain in bearish momentum. We're not seeing any bearish crossover, at least not yet. So for now, once again, we're still just cooling off in the short term, losing momentum, but still technically within a larger bull market. And on this 3-day Bitcoin price chart, technically speaking, despite the loss in bullish momentum in the shorter term, at least for now, this cup and handle pattern has not yet invalidated, because in order to actually invalidate this pattern and invalidate this price target, we'll need to see candle closes in the Bitcoin price here below this line right here, sitting at around 110,000. So if that happens, if we break back below 110,000 with confirmation, then that would completely invalidate this pattern in this price target. And if we're taking a look at the daily Bitcoin price chart, once again, we're still cooling off in the shorter term, as the price is running into significant resistance that I've been warning about since before we even hit that area. And that's at around 120,000 to 123,000 approximately. So in the low 120K area, expect a lot of struggle, a lot of resistance around there. And of course, once again, as I've already been saying over over the last 1 week, give or take. We're cooling off in the RSI, playing out a bit of a bearish trend in the daily Bitcoin RSI, which at least while this is happening in the shorter term, this is a sign of weakness. And the last time we saw something like this, it was around the end of May entering into June. And of course, what we saw back then in the price of Bitcoin was a lot of weakness, just cooling off, but still technically within the larger bull market. And so that's still the situation on the larger timeframes. Once again, cooling off, showing weakness in the shorter term, but still in a larger bull market. And if we're taking a look at the immediate short term on the 4-hour time frame, we're basically in a bit of a sideways price range. As we can clearly see, we're bouncing from this area of support many times here and rejecting from around this area of resistance. So first of all, this area of support is still sitting in between around 116,000 to 117,000. And over the last 1 day, around 1 day ago, we pretty much perfectly bounced from pretty much exactly 117,000. And then of course, not long before that, we also rejected from almost exactly 120,000, which is mainly where this area of resistance is starting, sitting in between roughly 120,000 to 121,000. So ultimately, the price of Bitcoin is basically just bouncing around relatively sideways in a bit of a sideways price range right now, while the price is still struggling around significant resistance and ultimately cooling off and showing some weakness, at least in the short term, lacking bullish momentum. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, at least for now, we're still showing a lot of liquidity, building a lot of liquidity just above the price of Bitcoin at around 120,000 to 121,000. And in case you're new to all of this, usually, not always, but usually the price of Bitcoin tends to move towards where there's a lot of liquidity to wipe out that liquidity, which means at least based on this chart by itself, it could be quite likely over the next few days or at some point in the next week or so, just in the shorter term, it could be likely the price will move towards this area, towards roughly 120,000, give or take out this liquidity. But remember, expect the price to struggle a lot around this area on the price chart as well. So as the price moves closer towards that area, also expect rejections from around this area. And so of course, this liquidity above the price still sitting there on the Bitcoin liquidation heat map is suggesting that we may end up seeing yet another bounce from this area of support at some point in the coming days here, maybe moving closer towards this area of resistance to see yet another rejection around that area, kind of like what we just saw a couple of days ago. But remember, no matter what happens in the short term on the smaller time frames, whether we see a slight little bounce or another little pullback, either way, this is just very short-term price action. And ultimately, we're still in a cool-off phase in the market, lacking bullish momentum, which will likely last at least a period of days, most likely another 1 or 2 weeks, just cooling off here in the price of Bitcoin. And while this is happening at the same time as a bounce in the Bitcoin dominance, this is actually some bad news in the short term for the altcoin market, which I'll talk about in just a moment, and some major trading opportunities that we need to pay attention to that not many other people are really actually looking at. But just before talking about the next major trading opportunities, of course, you have to be set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And personally, I'm taking a lot of my crypto trades over on BTNX, so I'll make sure to leave a link to BTNX below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link below this video, it'll take you to this page right here where you can claim some massive trading and deposit bonuses. For example, up to $40,000 in trading bonuses here. And also, if you deposit just $1,000, you get a $200 bonus into your BTNX account completely for free. That's basically free money from the exchange that you can actually use to trade with over on BTNX. But once again, these massive bonuses are only available if you use the link below this video to actually make your BTNX account. And so obviously, if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. First link below this video. And in case you're wondering, BTNX is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want BTNX as an exchange, there's also 2bit as another option out there, another exchange that I also trade on. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to 2bit below this video. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page where there's currently a massive trading competition happening right now over on 2bit, a $3 million trading competition happening on 2bit. And I do have the Crypto World team set up ready to go in this competition. So if you click the link below this video, scroll down a little bit, you can actually join my Crypto World team completely for free to join. And if we place well in this competition, we could potentially win some massive prizes here. So once again, you can also claim some massive bonuses over here on 2bit only if you use that link. And in case you're wondering, 2bit is also a no KYC exchange. But with that being said, taking a look at the Bitcoin dominance on the 3-day time frame, and as I've already been saying over the last few days or so, we're clearly running into a major area of support in the Bitcoin dominance, at least for now, at the same time as running into oversold in the RSI. And so once again, as I've already been saying here on the channel, while the Bitcoin dominance is running into this support, this is effectively putting the altcoin season on pause. Obviously, while we were playing out this bearish divergence, which is technically still active, this was essentially an altcoin season here, at least a mini altcoin season. While we're seeing a dump in the Bitcoin dominance, obviously a lot of the altcoins has some quite large gains and outperformed Bitcoin. But once again, as I've been saying recently here on the channel, if the Bitcoin dominance is bouncing from this support, this is preventing the altcoin season from continuing. The altcoin season will only continue if we break below this area of support in the Bitcoin dominance, which means at least for now, while we're holding above this area of support, the altcoin season is at least temporarily over. Now, maybe we end up breaking below it later on at some point to resume the altcoin season, but while this is happening, while we're finding support here, the altcoin season is not currently playing out. Because in case you're new to all of this, when the Bitcoin dominance is bullish, that means the altcoins on average are doing worse than whatever Bitcoin is doing. And if Bitcoin is cooling off in the short term, showing weakness, obviously the altcoins doing worse than whatever Bitcoin is doing means a lot of the altcoins are starting to flip bearish again, at least in the short term, while the Bitcoin dominance is holding above this area of support. And so while a lot of other people out there in crypto YouTube, crypto Twitter are telling you to buy, we're looking at a major altcoin season, I'm telling you about these possible warning signals right now in the altcoin market with the Bitcoin dominance holding above this area. Once again, this is a warning signal for the altcoin market, especially if we continue to see more of a bounce in the Bitcoin dominance. And if we're taking a look at Ethereum on this 3-day Ethereum price chart, for now, the price of ETH is starting to reject and struggle around the exact area of resistance that I've been warning about for weeks now on the channel. Since much lower prices, I've been targeting this significant area of resistance in between around 3.9k to 4.1k, and at least so far, exactly where the price entered into that area, just above 3.9k, that's exactly where the price has started to struggle at. And so obviously, time and time again, for well over a year now, since the beginning of 2024 pretty much, we've seen many significant rejections from this exact area on the price chart at close to $4,000, which means there's a lot of people looking to sell Ethereum or take profits on Ethereum around this area on the price chart, causing the price to struggle in this area, and we're potentially seeing it yet again. And now, of course, at some point in the future, if we can ultimately break out above this area, ideally with candle closes on the larger time frames above at least 4.1k and actually holding above this area, that of course in that situation that would be extremely bullish for Ethereum. And honestly, if we can actually break out above this area with confirmation, I would expect a continued bullish move towards all-time highs, towards around $5,000 plus, if we first confirm a breakout here. But once again, at least for now, we have not confirmed any breakout here, which means there is still currently a real risk, a real possibility of yet another rejection from this resistance, which we need to consider. And if we're taking a look at this daily Ethereum price chart, in terms of support, if we were to see a bit of a rejection, a bit of a pullback here in the short term, I would expect a lot of support at just above 3.5k, in between around 3.5k to 3.6k, and also a lot of support in between 3.2k to 3.3k if the price were to actually get to those levels. And of course, we're also potentially forming a significant bearish divergence for the first time since around early June is the last time we saw a bearish divergence confirm on the daily Ethereum price chart. And obviously back then in early June, while we were forming a significant bearish divergence, the price back then was also running into a very significant area of resistance in between around 2.7k to 2.8k. As now obviously later on, we continued the bull market, continued the larger bullish trend with ultimately a breakout later on. But while we were forming a bearish divergence at the same time as running into this significant resistance, before seeing the breakout later on at some point in the future, we first played out a decent pullback, a decent rejection from this resistance. And so I'm just simply pointing out the similarities between what we're seeing right now in the price chart and what we saw in early June this year. Once again, a bearish divergence starting to now confirm on the daily Ethereum price chart at the same time as running into a very significant area of resistance where previously we've seen many significant rejections from this exact area that we're running into right now. And so due to all of these reasons on the daily Ethereum price chart, the bearish divergence, the 3-day time frame, of course, running into significant resistance, and also the Bitcoin dominance holding above key support, which is bad news for the altcoin market. Due to all of these reasons, I am currently in just a small shorts position, currently shorting Ethereum, and I will be potentially looking at some other short positions for some other altcoins. And so just being completely transparent with you here on the channel, once again, I'm currently in around $130,000 Ethereum short position, so not my largest trade out there, but potentially if we see more of a rejection from this resistance at the same time as further confirming the bearish divergence, I may even add to that short position potentially if we see more bearish confirmation signals, like for example breaking below this key point of support here at roughly 3.7k. We do have a bit of support around here, and so you can see that just over the last one day only recently I did open this short position roughly around here, and then also as we ran into a little bit of short-term support here, I slightly reduced the trade already, took a small amount of profits off the table. So already, of course, this short position is already making money, as you can see. Then potentially if the price heads once again back into this area of resistance, maybe even if the price forms another higher high while the RSI is still forming lower highs, especially if the Bitcoin dominance is still holding above this area of support, even in that situation, I may even add to the short position again, because obviously we did see that a couple of times last time. We did ultimately form a couple of slight higher highs, pushing a little bit higher in the price. So obviously this would have caught a lot of bulls off guard, because while people would have been excited about the slight higher highs in the price, the RSI back then was still forming lower highs, a sign of weakness, telling us that we're losing bullish momentum and we're still getting ready for potentially a pullback coming soon. And so this is why it's very important to not just look at the price action alone, but also pay attention to indicators like the RSI, which can tell us what direction the momentum is starting to head in before the price starts to head in that direction. And so that's just being transparent with you. As always, not financial advice. I'm just simply showing what I'm currently doing with my own money to profit in the market, no matter what direction the price goes, whether we're bullish or bearish, no matter what direction the price goes, I'm pretty much always making money. As I showed just a few days ago, I was in a long position, longing this bullish move right here, and then I closed that long position in profits, and now I'm currently shorting Ethereum, already making profits on the bearish price action. And so this is why I always say it doesn't matter what direction the price goes, whether we're bullish or bearish, we can make money in both directions as crypto traders using long positions or short positions. And in case you're wondering, I'm currently taking this Ethereum short position over on my Bitfinex account, link below this video. Once again, that first link below this video to Bitfinex can get you some massive trading and deposit bonuses on the exchange that I'm trading on right now. But with that being said, taking a look at Solana on the 2-day time frame, and Solana is another one of those altcoins running into significant resistance and already starting to reject from that significant area of resistance, still sitting in between roughly 190 to 200. And so even though we're technically still within a larger bullish trend, if we're looking at the higher lows and the higher highs, of course, during a larger bullish trend, we can see pullbacks along the way, and we're clearly already starting a bit of a short-term pullback, rejecting from significant resistance. So it could be likely the price could even potentially pull back down towards around 167 as a likely scenario here, because around 167, we have key support around there. But even if we see a little bit more of a pullback over the next few days or over the next few weeks, technically speaking, we're still within, once again, a larger bullish trend for as long as the price is still holding above this previous low at these much lower prices here. So once again, in the shorter term, we're showing signs of weakness, rejecting from resistance, especially while the Bitcoin dominance, once again, is holding above this support here. Definitely pay attention to this, because while this is happening in the Bitcoin dominance, don't expect any significant bullish price action for a lot of the altcoins. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP, it's the same story for XRP. As I've already been saying over the last few days, for almost a week now, I've been saying expect another pullback, expect a retest of this significant level here sitting at around $3, and we're already getting closer towards $3, which previously has been significant support and also previous significant resistance. And what we can also see on the weekly XRP price chart is a massive bearish divergence currently forming and already confirmed with one confirmation signal, potentially about to confirm with a second confirmation signal, because we already have confirmed higher highs in the price in the candle closes, and we're also forming lower highs in the weekly XRP RSI with, once again, one confirmation signal, at least so far. And so potentially at the end of this week, we may end up seeing a second confirmation signal if this weekly candle close at the end of this week confirms in the red. Once again, that will be two confirmation signals to properly confirm the bearish divergence, which could point towards a larger pullback pullback or a larger correction, or at least a massive sideways consolidation, basically a massive slowdown for the price in the next few weeks or months as a very likely scenario. And it's pretty much the only thing that could potentially turn that around back into the bullish direction again is if we see a massive breakdown in the Bitcoin dominance. If the Bitcoin dominance breaks through this area of support and continues a pullback here, then once again, that would be good news for the altcoin market. But while the Bitcoin dominance is holding this support here and actually bouncing a bit in the short term, this is not good for the altcoin market. And if we're taking a look at the daily XRP price chart, at least for now, and as I've already been saying over the last almost 1 week now, the price is basically just bouncing around sideways and set to bounce around sideways in this sideways price range. So obviously for roughly a week now, this has been perfectly playing out as predicted in between roughly $2.90 to $3.40, because in between $2.90 to $3, we have significant support there. And in between around $3.30 to $3.40, we have significant resistance around there. And so honestly, what is a very likely scenario in the coming hours here or in the coming days is potentially another test of this support at roughly around $3, give or take. And then we could likely find support again around that area, maybe see another little bounce, ultimately staying in this range for a little longer, at least for the next few days. And if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, right now Chainlink is potentially starting to break below a very crucial area on the price chart, sitting in between around $17.50 to $18. And previously this has been very significant resistance for the price, and more recently over the last 1 week, give or take, has been important support for the price. So if the price ultimately confirms a daily candle close below $17.50, and especially if we fail to get back above that area, flipping it into new resistance, in that situation, that would be extremely bearish for Chainlink, at least when we're talking about the next few days or weeks. And now it's important to mention that at least at the time of recording this video, we've not yet actually confirmed to break below this area of support. But if that confirms, and especially if we flip that into new resistance, in that situation, honestly, I would expect at least a move down towards roughly $15.50 as a very likely scenario if we first confirm a break below $17.50, which is potentially another trading opportunity here. And so as always, not financial advice, but if we simply confirm the break below $15.50 with those confirmation signals like candle closes and rejecting from this point right here, in that situation, let's just say if we shorted from roughly where we are right now towards roughly $15.50, that's about a 10% move towards the downside with no leverage, or with, let's just say, a 10x leverage short position, around a 100% profit, actually doubling your money while everyone else out there is losing money. And so while pretty much everyone in the crypto market is telling you to buy, I'm just pointing out these possible warning signals and possible trading opportunities to actually profit, even if we see this bearish price action that I've already been warning about here on the channel. And in terms of resistance, obviously I'd expect a lot of resistance closer towards $20 here. And if we confirm that break below $17.50, I'll then expect this area to become new resistance in between $17.50 to $18. And remember, when it comes to the altcoin market, definitely pay attention to what the Bitcoin dominance is doing, because as I've said many times throughout the video and many times in recent videos here on the channel, before we started to see this latest little bounce here, pay attention to the Bitcoin dominance running into this support, because if we continue holding above this area, essentially expect some bad news for a lot of the altcoin market, at least in the short term. But remember, even if we see bearish price action, that does not mean we should be losing money. We can actually make money, make profits during bearish price action, as I'm doing right here as of recording this video. And once again, if you want to take trades just like this for yourself, check out the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim those massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can take trades just like this to profit no matter what direction the price is doing, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit during bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit during choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.